Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Got Heartbroken and Goes to Descendants World movie. Before we start, please go support Angel Gonzalez 753 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistaken character's gender, but of course Issei is a male. Issei Hyoudou decides to leave Kuo after the Gremory made a very stupid decision that caused the brown-haired boy pain and led him to meet beings he had never seen before, including children of some fantasy beings known as the Descendants. Clarifications. Issei X harem. Issei will become colder but will retain his old attitude except for the perverted. Main couple Mal. On the way to new directions. The supernatural world was at peace after the Trahixa had been defeated, along with Rissavam and the Cows Brigade, and all thanks to Issei, who reached a level never seen before to defeat him. But how are things in the Gremory entourage? We see Ria sitting in the occult club in front of her knight, who looked very upset with his king. Kiba. But you is sure about this, he said, annoyed. Ria's. What are you talking about, Kiba? Irina's idea is brilliant, she said, confused. Kiba. Ending your relationship with Issei to see how much he loves you is ridiculous. What else do you want me to do for you? He said, annoyed. Ria's. No, I don't understand what you're talking about, she said, confused. Kiba. What am I talking about? He has given his all to see you happy, he has cried, he has fought, he has challenged gods for you, and still it is not enough, he said angrily, while Ria's remained silent. At that moment the blonde walked towards the door, but not before seeing his mistress one last time. Kiba. I hope you don't regret your decision. 4 hours later. We see our good chestnut arriving at the occult club, and upon entering he could see all the girls in the entourage along with Ravel and Irina. Issei. But you, why did you call me? He said with his typical cheerful tone. Ria's. Sit down, Issei, we have something serious to talk about, she said seriously. Issei just obeyed and sat down under the serious gaze of all the girls. Ria's. Vera, I sent for you, pa. She couldn't continue because Kiba's voice resonated in her head. Kiba. I hope you don't regret your decision. Akeno. Look, Issei, we want to break off all kinds of relationships with you, she said seriously at the brown-haired boy's shocked look. Issei. What are you talking about? He said, stuttering and with tears in his eyes. Irina. What Akeno meant is that we are tired of you and your way of being, and it is better to cut it off in time, she said seriously. Greg. Calm down, buddy, they don't deserve your tears, be strong, he said mentally. Issei. I understand, and if that's all, I'll leave, he said, turning around and leaving the place. The girls all gave a deep sigh before speaking. Zenobia. We just have to wait, she said calmly. Asia. If Issei-san came back to get our love back, she said happily while the others nodded. Akeno. It went well, don't laugh, she said calmly while looking at the Redeed, who didn't say anything. Ross. But you is okay, she said confused. Ria's. His eyes. Outskirts of Kuo. We see a chestnut tree on its knees while shedding tears as the rain began to fall. Issei. What did I do wrong, what did I do wrong, he screamed in deep pain. Dreg. Calm down, buddy, he said worriedly. Issei. Tell me, Dreg, what I did when I failed, pain cry. You didn't do anything wrong, said a black-haired man with red hair calmly. Issei. Who are you, he said confused. My name doesn't matter, what matters is that I can help you get rid of that pain, he said calmly. Issei. How will you do it? He said confused. Just come with me, he said with a big smile, stretching out his hand. Issei. I will end the pain. 1 week later. The girls have been crazy since Issei is missing. They have asked everyone at school and his acquaintances, in addition to having searched for him all over Kuo without any trace of him, and they have not been able to track him with the evil pieces. Kiba. I warned you, but you didn't want to listen to me, he said annoyed. Ria's. Kiba, please, this is not the time for this, she said sadly. Kiba. Oh no, then when I look at the stupidity that you caused, Issei is missing, nobody has seen him, the last ones were you after your stupid idea, he said angrily, while the girls lowered their heads. So the blonde left the house, and as he walked away he saw a tree as he began to cry and was covered by a light. Kira. Issei, forgive me, I should have confessed my feelings to you. Unknown location. We see a chestnut tree leaning against the trunk of a tree while looking at the crystal clear water of a lake. Greg. I notice you are pensive, he said mentally. Issei. It's nothing, just knowing that there are other totally unknown factions other than the ones we already knew is incredible, he said calmly. Greg. So staying in the Eastern Hemisphere deprives us of knowing about these factions, he said thoughtfully. Issei. Whatever, come back, he couldn't continue because a strange dragon landed in the lake. Issei. Who is he, he said confused. The brown-haired boy could see how the dragon turned into a girl who was quite pretty in his eyes. Greg. Correction, he said seriously. Issei. Hey, are you okay, he said, seeing how the girl had a sad look. Who are you, he said without flinching. Issei. My name is Issei Hyoudou and you, he said nervously. My name is Mal, daughter of Maleficent, said the girl quite sadly. Issei Malefi couldn't finish because a blue-haired girl appeared. Maleficent, a wicked woman, said the girl with a sniper while the girl lowered her head. Issei. Sinan said confused. Sinan. You are very far from your origin, she said seriously, loading her weapon. Bad. I don't belong there anymore, he said, looking away, trying to hide his sadness. Sinan. Issei, we must go back, the captain is waiting for us, she said seriously. Issei. I understand, but I want her to come with us, he said seriously. Sinan. Issei, she said excitedly. Mal. Hey, I don't want to cause you problems, so I'll just stay here, he said as he turned around. Issei. Don't worry, there won't be any problems, and it will be interesting to meet someone who has also suffered for love, he said calmly, while the girl looked at him in surprise. Mal. How do you know that? She said incredulously. Issei. You're not the only one. Academia Kuo. We see a very nervous Gremory watching her brother and parents come out of a magic circle. Surzich. Hello Riaz, where is Issei? Sad memory. Riaz was silent, not answering her brother's question. Surzich. Riaz, where is Issei, he said again with a little annoyance. Riaz. He's not here, he went to train, she said nervously. Zeoticus. Train? He said confused. Riaz. Yes, she said yes to training because she didn't want to lose shape, she said nervously. Kiba. It's a lie, he said angrily at the door of the place. Riaz. Kai. Kiba is silent, she said nervously. Kiba. So that Mr. Surzich and his parents don't find out about his stupidity, he said seriously and in a cold voice. Surzich. You laugh at what he's talking about, he said seriously. Riaz. You're welcome, she said nervously. Kiba. Issei disappeared a week ago, no one has seen him, and we have no clues about his whereabouts, he said coldly, leaving the Mayu and his parents in shock. Surzich. Why didn't you tell me that, Riaz furious shout. Riaz. I couldn't continue because Kiba spoke again. Kiba. She and the others are to blame for his disappearance, he said with great hatred. Surzich. What a laugh, you better have a good explanation for me, furious shout. Kiba. Come on Butchu, tell them what a brilliant idea they had. Unknown location. We see Issei and company entering a big house being greeted by the guy who helped Issei. Issei. Hello Travis, he said seriously. Travis. I see you're back and someone else is with you, said the black-haired man seriously. Issei. Yes, she is, could not continue because someone spoke. Enheru. Evil daughter of Maleficent and Hades, said a blue-haired man at the top of some stairs. Issei. You are the daughter of Hades, screamed in surprise. Mal. If you don't remind me, he said sadly. Issei. But you are very different from that old man with fiery hair, he said curiously. Mal. You know my father, she said confused. Issei. That's right, during the war of the factions against the Cows Brigade he was on the enemy side and I had to hit him a couple of times before Zeus locked him in the underworld, he said calmly. Mal. I see, she said intrigued. Travis. Well, miss, what are you doing so far from home? He said curiously while drinking tea. Mal. I wouldn't want to talk about that, he said sadly. Issei. The faster you release that pain, the faster it will disappear, he said in a warm tone, bothering a blue-haired girl. Mal. Well, after me and 3 of my friends were chosen to study in Oregon to prove that we are not like our parents, me and Ben, the son of Beauty and the Beast, fell in love. I thought that my life would change, but the stress that came with being the girlfriend of the future king ended up frustrating me. I just wanted to go back to what it used to be like before, having my life before fame. I thought that if I took some time I could clear my mind, but then I found out that Evie, who I considered my best friend, started dating Ben and taking my place as the future queen and declared me a criminal, she said as she began to cry. Issei. You have to calm down, I know that hurts, and more so for people who were important to you, but that shows that he really didn't love you, and destiny will have something better for you, you just have to wait, he said with a big smile while the girl hugged him. Mal. But how Sniff hurts, it hurt so much to know that for a stupid title, Sniff put aside all our friendship, she said without stopping crying. Issei. I know, calm down, everything will happen for a reason, you will see that everything will improve and you will be able to see the light at the end of the suffering, he said, consoling the girl. Travis. Okay guys, Miss Evil can stay here. Sinan, take her to one of the empty rooms, he said calmly. Mal. Seriously, it won't be a bother, she said nervously. Travis. Not at all, he said nonchalantly. Synonym, come with me, I said it with some disgust. So the 2 girls went up the stairs while the 3 men remained where they were. Issei. Why did you call me? He said curiously. Travis. I have a mission for you, he said seriously. Enheru. What's wrong, he said seriously. Travis. In 2 days a phenomenon called Suum will occur, this will cause the dead to step on our world again, and their mission is to return the most dangerous to the world of the dead, he said seriously. Issei. Where will this phenomenon occur, he said curiously. Travis. In Mexico, to be exact, on the island of Pizcuro Michoacan, the ruler of the world of the dead, the Katrina, will be waiting for them, he said seriously. Issei. I see, if it's 2 days we must leave now, we must leave immediately, he said seriously. And Haru. Nobody backs down, he said, bumping fists with the brown-haired boy. Issei, you give up. Guo Academy Occult Club. We see the Gremory completely furious after what the Gremory said. Rias. And that was it, she couldn't continue because her mother slapped her hard. Then Alana. How could they come up with such a stupid idea? She said furiously. Rias. When we discussed it we thought it was a good idea, she said sadly. Surzich. I just don't understand how you can be so studious, seeing how much Issei loved you. It wasn't enough of a sacrifice, an arm for you, defended you from any danger, died for you, helped you in everything without asking for anything in return. What the hell more did you want, he said furiously. Rias. I she said nervously and sadly, because her brother was right, it was stupid. Issei showed he loved them with all his being. Zioticus. You know, it's funny, Issei wasn't going to go any further with you, and it's not because he didn't love you, he just still has insecurity in himself, he said thoughtfully. Rias. Pa dad, what are you talking about, she said confused. Zioticus. Stop being so stupid, Issei is still suffering because of that fallen angel, that's why he wants to go slow to feel safe, he said angrily, leaving the girl speechless. Surzich. And you already tried with the pieces, he said seriously. Rias. The pieces are true. Outside the club. We see an albino who heard everything. Ali. So Hyoudou left, huh, he said curiously. Albion. What do you think, Vali, he said confused. Ali. I'll keep all the girls from Hyoudou. Living with the dead. Pizcuro, Michoacan. We see Issei and his partner looking from a boat at an island surrounded by a lake. Issei. So that's the place, said cracking his knuckles. And Haru. That's right, but that one we were specifically facing was Miss Katrina, he said seriously, watching as a rather beautiful skeletal woman appeared at the tip of the boat. Katrina. Nice to see you young people, I'm glad you came so quickly, said the woman in a calm voice. Issei. You don't have to thank us now, tell us what we're up against, he said seriously. Katrina. Well, for obvious reasons, dead people came back to life. Most of them are criminals and delinquents who pay for their sins. They don't have to destroy them. When the clock strikes midnight, they will all return to the land of the remembered, but if one of them leaves the place, they will be freed from the curse and come back to life. Issei. We are jailers who must keep the prisoners in jail until the time is up, he said seriously. Katrina. Exactly, she said it would be. Issei. Deal. Guo Academy Occult Club. We see Rias in shock as the Issei pieces didn't even give any sign to find their location. Surzich. And what happened, he said confused. Rias. There is nothing, there is no sign, she said in shock. Then Alana. What are you talking about? The pieces are infallible, she said it would be. Rias. Okasama, no, what's going on, she said nervously. Surzich. Lend me your king piece, I'll go talk to Ajuka, he said seriously. Then Alana. If you know something about Issei you will have to tell us, she said it would be, while she began to disappear. Surzich. If Issei wants to leave your side I will make it clear, he said annoyed. Rias. You understood, she said sadly. So the Mayu along with his parents left the place, leaving an extremely sad indeed, while Kiba looked at her with hatred. Kiba. I see you're happy now, right? He said angrily. Rias. Kiba please, it's not mom, she couldn't continue because Kiba slapped her. Rias was in shock by her knight's action, but her surprise was greater when she began to shine, turning into a woman. Kira. Now because of you I won't be able to tell Issei that I love him, she said with hate and tears in her eyes. Rias. Kira, I'm sorry I messed up, forgive me, she said starting to cry. Kira. Now I see it clearly, you and those damn things never deserved Issei, she said leaving the place. Rias. Issei, forgive me. Pizcuro Island, Michoacan, Mexico. The boys arrived at the island while watching different skeletal beings pass by as if they were alive. Issei. What will we do first, he said curiously. Then Haru. We'll do this, he said throwing a punch into the air that instantly destroyed all the ships. Issei. Brilliant, now there are no boats and they won't be able to escape, he said thoughtfully. And Haru. If now we watch the area, do you want? He said seriously. But look who we have here, two alive, said a somewhat muscular skeleton next to a bunch of skeletons. Issei. Hey old man, we don't want any trouble, we just came for some things, and we're leaving, he said seriously. You will not get out alive, he said throwing himself with a knife. Issei. It must be because of bad luck, Drake, he said, starting to run. Braid Welsh Dragon Booster Gear Balance Breaker Scale Mail. The voice of the dragon manifesting the armor resounded. Issei began to attack the big man who, due to his deathly state, did not retreat before the brown-haired boy's strong blows. "It's the best you've got, Brad," he said, banging his fists hard. "Issei. You haven't seen anything yet," he said, kicking him. "And Hyoudou. They know their actions are pathetic," said mockingly. "How dare you insult us," he said, angrily hitting Issei and going against the black-haired boy. "And Hyoudou. You know why you fight with us, because you don't enjoy the benefits of being alive again," he said seriously. "What are you talking about?" he said seriously. "Issei. What he means is that look, you're wasting your time with us instead of enjoying your return to life. It's a little sad. If you want, we can explain it to you in simpler terms," he said, a guitar appearing and walking to the entrance of a bar. The two boys began to sing while the undead enjoyed the show. "You feel that life has treated you badly. And you don't stop crying if courage escapes from your heart and doesn't let itself be captured. If every morning you want to see the sun but it hides from you, push aside the clouds and listen to my voice, you will have a place here. It is not a normal place. It is a tavern that incites sin. Without stopping, come and enjoy. If you try the mead, I know you will return. We will drink until dawn. Let's toast as if there's no tomorrow, let's enjoy all the pleasure together. But this night still has left much to offer. If in your life you have only known evil and the abyss that lies behind, now is the time for you to change your way of thinking. It's not a normal place. It is a tavern that incites sin without stopping, come and enjoy, if you try the mead I know you will return. We will drink until dawn. Let's toast as if there's no tomorrow. Let's enjoy all the pleasure together. That tonight still has a lot to offer. One more day we will cry again. The drunken procession is about to begin. We will drink until dawn. Let's toast as if there's no tomorrow, let's enjoy together all the pleasure that this night still has a lot to offer. One more day we will cry again. The drunken procession is about to begin. We will drink until dawn. Let's toast as if there's no tomorrow, let's enjoy together all the pleasure that this night still has a lot to offer. We will drink until dawn. Let's toast as if there's no tomorrow, let's enjoy together all the pleasure that this night still has a lot to offer." So everyone sang and drank, enjoying the moment while the boys looked at the clock, seeing how midnight was coming. "And Hyoudou. Time," said, seeing how everyone began to fade away. Issei mission accomplished. Hyoudou residence. We see the girls gathered together somewhat sad, but their attention was caught by someone in particular. "Volley. Hello girls," he said arrogantly. "Riaz. What do you want, Volley Lucifer?" The truth of the heart. Riaz and her group looked seriously at the albino who smiled maliciously, which displeased the girls. "Volley. What's wrong with those faces?" he said mockingly. "Riaz. Tell us, what are you doing here, Lucifer?" she said seriously. "Volley. I wanted to see if it was true that you guys discarded Hyoudou," he said with a laugh. "Akeno. That doesn't matter to you, and if you only come for that you better leave," said the fall with annoyance. "Volley. Because they don't force me," he said, releasing dragon pheromones. The girls began to feel their bodies getting hotter and hotter as their legs trembled as Volley slowly approached. "Volley. I think we'll have some fun," he said arrogantly. "Zenobia. No, of course not, we made a mistake with Issei, and we will not do it again," she said while trying to contain themselves. "Volley. Of course, as if they could, they are so weak and pathetic that I can't wait for that idiot to come back, and you guys are marked by." He couldn't continue because something sent him flying. The girls turned around looking at a trembling Gasper while his fist was stretched out, but his gaze showed absolute determination. "Riaz Georgia Gasper," she said incredulously. "Gasper. A getaway from Butchu and the others," he said nervously but without backing away a bit. "Volley. You'll pay for it, damn transvestite," he shouted furiously, activating his armor and launching himself against the vampire who couldn't react to the albino's blows. Riaz Gasper screamed, worried about her bishop who was brutally beaten by the albino. "Volley. Understand it, you're just trash," he shouted, slamming his foot against a wall. They all watched in shock as Gasper fell to the ground with his face bleeding and almost dead. "Volley. You're just trash where we were," he said, turning around seeing the Gremorys who couldn't get out of their shock. "Riaz. Damn, you'll pay for this." She couldn't continue because a voice interrupted her. "Gasper. What's wrong with you, damn it, why do you turn your back on me? We haven't even finished yet," he said, activating his ability, stopping Volley. "Kaneko. Gasper, you're not very hurt," she said, worried about her friend, and even more so when she saw Volley break Gasper's effect. "Volley. Damn faggot, you're more annoying than I thought, but it doesn't matter now if you're going to die," she said, looking at him seriously. "Gasper. That doesn't matter to me, that's my job as a piece of Ria's Gremory to give my life to protect her," he said, standing up with a little strength he had left. "Volley. How cheesy, at least you have a purpose because as a warrior you are a nuisance. Die, he said, launching himself into the attack to give him a monstrous blow. Gremory's arena Gasper, they screamed in horror as Gasper closed his eyes. Crash. They all saw how volley hit the target, but not Gasper. There was someone between the two of them stopping volley's fist, but the most impressive thing was that he stopped the blow with a rose. Something like that. Volley. Who are you? He said, confused when he saw a boy with red eyes and pale skin as he stepped away, and the other boy held the rose as if it were nothing. That doesn't matter to you, Risavam's grandson. What should matter to you is that you will die for hurting my little brother, he said, releasing a terrifying aura. Aspergu Gustav Nai Sama, he said, surprised. Gustav. You fought well, I'm proud, now let me take care of it, he said, carrying the transvestite and taking him with him. Volley. Damn you, how dare you turn your back on me in the middle of battle, he said furiously while throwing a punch. Gustav. Our levels are totally different, he said, turning around and holding him by the face, creating blue flames. Volley. Ah damn it, what is this, he screamed as his armor began to burn. Gustav. They are flames of purgatory, no matter what you try, they will never disappear unless I take them away from you, he said without concern. Volley continued screaming as he disappeared into a magic circle, leaving the girls more than surprised by the black-haired man's power. Riaz. Thanks for saving me, she couldn't continue because the black-haired boy slapped her, knocking her to the floor. Ross. Hey, what's wrong, he said, helping his king. Gustav. You see what your stupidity caused, your pawn is lost and my brother is hurt, and all this was caused by your bad decisions of a stupid girl who can't realize what people are capable of realizing what people do for her, he said coldly, making the girl feel worse. Bekeno. We already know, we know that we were wrong, but we want to remedy our mistake, she screamed sadly, unable to stop crying. Gustav. Don't tell me, tell the Sekiruyute when he appears, he said, turning around and starting to walk. Asper Nai Sama, he said weakly while Asia healed him. Gustav. Don't strain yourself. Tomorrow I'll come to train you. For now, rest, you deserve it, he said as he left the house. They all fell silent as they shed tears, thinking that most of them were right and that they were stupid for their decisions. Riaz. He's right, she said, wiping her tears. Zenobia. Boo but you, what are you talking about, she said, confused like the others. Riaz. He said that we have to tell Issei when he appears, he is right, when we find Issei we will talk and we will apologize and we will explain to him what happened, she said determinedly. Asia. But he already made his life with someone else, she said sadly. Riaz. Well then accept it, we caused that, and that's why we will accept it. If he is happy with that person, we will leave him, we will not ruin his happiness for ours, understood, she said sadly. The others. Yes, they said sadly but understanding the situation. A little far from home. We see Surzich along with Gasper's brother watching and listening to what the girls were saying sadly, but the two remained calm. Surzich. It seems that they have already reconsidered, thanks for coming to help, he said calmly. Gustav. You don't have to because we always act to help our brothers, right? He said looking at the redeed. Surzich. And you know where Issei is, he said curiously. Gustav. The last information I collected said that he was heading to Pitscuro, Michoacan, Mexico, he said seriously. Surzich. I see, well, see you later, I leave Riaz to you. I don't think Volley will give up so easily, he said seriously as he walked into a magic circle. Gustav. Volley Lucifer will die next time. Unknown location. We see Issei traveling back to his house followed by his friend as they looked evil outside his house seeing the lake. And Haru. It's all yours, he said leaving the brown-haired boy entering the house. Issei nodded and began to walk to where the purple-haired girl was. Val. I see you're back, she said without looking at him. Issei. Yes, and what are you doing, he said curiously. Bad. Nothing, I just wanted to think a little, he said sadly. And what would a villain like you think? Said a voice, putting the two on alert. The two could see a black-haired girl with a red jacket. Valani. Problems with Oridon. We can see a serious Mal next to the chestnut tree watching the girl who was taking out a sword with hostile intentions. Valane, you also think I'm a villain, he said sadly. Lane. Don't try to play with me, daughter of a villain, she will always be a villain, she said, making a cut with her voice. Crash. The sword collided with a red gauntlet as the brunette in a quick movement held the sword while the girl tried to release it to continue attacking. Val. Then why Jay and Carlos, because they continue having a normal life because I am the only one who is wanted, she said, trying to seem strong. Lane. They were already captured. Evie decided to speak up when you were planning to steal the crown and combine it with your mother's scepter to rule everything, and she understood that was wrong and spoke up to avoid a tragedy, she said angrily. Malty, that is a damn lie, how could you accept them doing that to Jay? He loved you, he screamed angrily as he began to cry. Lane. I will not fall for your lies, I will end you and this evil plan, he said, creating a strange dragon with his sword. The dragon went all out against the purple-haired girl who stood motionless waiting for the attack without hesitation, but Issei was the one who couldn't stand to see this. Issei Drag serious cry. Drag. Welsh Dragon Booster Gear Balance Breaker Scale Male. The dragon's voice resounded as the armor materialized all over the chestnut's body. The brunette watched in disbelief as her attack became smaller and disappeared, seeing the boy in front of her with an arm of his armor very different from the rest. Issei. Look, damn, I don't care who sent you or if more like you will come, but let me tell you something, bad is not alone, and I will do everything in my power and more to protect her, and I will kill whoever dares to come, you understand, he said seriously, while his gems began to shine, and Mal blushed at what the brown-haired man said. Lane. I'm not afraid of you, she said seriously. Sinan. Well, you should, he said next to her with a gun pointing at her head. And Haru. I would think better about the situation in which this young lady is, he said behind her with an energy sphere. Lane. For this time I leave, but this is not over, he said, taking out a scroll and disappearing from the place. Issei. You're okay, he said, his armor disappearing and standing in front of Mal. Mal. No, I'm not okay, sniff, my friends are in Oridan as criminals, and I abandoned them thinking that they would be with that damn sniff, she said, crying in the chestnut's chest. Issei. Tell me, do you want to help them? He said seriously. Dad. But how? She said frustrated. And Haru. It's not obvious with our help, he said calmly. Mal. That you are willing to help me, she said incredulously. Sinan. Sure, it will be fun, you just have to tell Travis, she said without flinching. Travis. It won't be necessary, I've already seen everything and I understand. Just tell me when you leave, he said seriously, appearing between the trees. Issei. In 2 days, do you think? He said looking at the others who just nodded. Mal. Thanks, really, thank you, he said, wiping away his tears. Issei. You don't have to, now focus on the fact that we must save your friends, he said seriously. Mal. If we will save them. So everyone started walking back to their house without any of them noticing that in one of the trees there was a bat upside down watching everything that had happened. Guo City, Japan. On the outskirts of the city in a forest, a black-haired man was at the top of a tree, slowly opening his eyes. Gustav. So the Securite will go to Oridan, very interesting, he said thoughtfully until he saw a certain redeed in the distance, like in a park. In that park the redeed looked at the fountain with great sadness, while she remembered that day she met the brown-haired boy and how that look conquered her heart. Also that in that same park she saved him from death when the fallen angel Rainer had tried to kill him, and how her life changed completely and all, because of that same brown-haired boy who day after day made her happy to see that beautiful smile. Riaz. Issei, please forgive me, I was stupid, if only I could go back in time and avoid doing that stupid thing, she said sitting in the fountain starting to cry. Gustav. Come on Gremory, really show what you feel. If you're really sorry, show it, he said, seeing her hidden among the trees. At that moment the redeed began to play a melody with her voice while she walked her hand in the water. I promise to love you forever. And it was true, there was no doubt in my mind, if fate had different plans and I hurt you by accident, I'm sorry if I let go of you, if I didn't defend you it was because my heart was blind, how stupid to lose you to see him, I'm sorry. I don't expect love or hate. I've had enough with my pain, I cursed the episode, the worst thing is that I was the one who wrote it, the demons that your forgetfulness leaves behind are waiting for me, they play with me, I know it's cowardly to ask you in a song forgiveness. If I could turn back time. This time I wouldn't hide what I feel, silence was the most violent deception, my terrible experiment failed, if I pushed you away from me, if I failed you and left it was because my lies scared me, you believed me and I became so good at pretending. I don't expect love or hate. I've had enough with my pain, I cursed the episode, the worst thing is that I was the one who wrote it, the demons that your forgetfulness leaves behind are waiting for me, they play with me, I know it's cowardly to ask you in a song forgiveness. The redeed sang, shedding tears and expressing all the feelings and pain she held for the decision she had made and the grave mistake they had caused. Gustav. This makes things clearer to me. The black-haired boy faded away in a dark mist while the redeed wiped away her tears and decided to leave the place, but not before taking one last look at the park. Oridan Forest. We see Lane walking looking at Oridan Castle from afar, but now we could see many doubts in his head. Lane. Because if she is a villain, why did she cry with so much feeling, and she was telling the truth, she said very confused. Now you realized what is rumored in the lowest is true, that Evie took over the throne that corresponded to her badly only out of envy, in addition to blaming her so that no one would suspect, said a female voice in front of her along with 2 boys. Lane. What are you doing here, Yuma? Journey to the world of fantasy. Guo Academy Occult Club. We see how a magic circle appeared from which Surzich emerged along with the other leaders, confusing the girls. Riaz. Nai Sama, what's wrong, she said confused. Surzich. We have a small problem, he said seriously. Ross. What's the situation? She said curiously. Auden. There is a faction known as Fantasy. They are beings related to magic, and although individually they are not very powerful, they have extremely powerful artifacts that could cause great chaos in any faction, and those who will be the next rulers think that the existence of the beings is a danger and ask that we give our power to them to be at peace, he said seriously. Riaz. But they are crazy, who do they think they are? She said angrily. Azazel. They are two children who have already had power go to their heads and do not know the consequences that their actions will have, he said seriously. Akeno. And what do we have to do with this? He said curiously. Michael. We want you and the Citri clan to go to Oridon, the capital of that faction, to investigate what plans they have if we refuse to give them power, he said seriously. Riaz. And when would we leave? She said curiously. Surzich. Gustav will also go in 2 days to help them in case of problems, he said seriously. Riaz. Understood, we'll be ready, she said seriously. So the leaders left the place, leaving the girls thinking about the mission and wondering how dangerous it could be. Kira. Damn, another mission like this, I can't find Issei, she said frustrated outside the occult club. Gustav. It seems that the security is very important to you, isn't it? He said seriously from the branch of a tree. Kira. Kai, you are Gasper's brother, right? It's not like that, she said nervously. Gustav. That's right, and you are the supposed knight of the Gremory, but you didn't answer my question, he said calmly. Kira. That doesn't matter to you, she said somewhat angry. Gustav. Well, I thought that if you really cared so much you would want to know where it is, he said, seriously surprising the girl. Kira. You know where it is, you know, she said upset. Gustav. Yes, I know, he said getting down from the tree in front of her. Kira. Where is it? Tell me, please tell me, she screamed upset while holding the black-haired boy. Gustav. Why am I telling you if we are going to the same place as him? He said seriously, confusing the girl. Kira. What are you talking about? Going to the same place. But where we are going is, she couldn't continue because she opened her eyes in shock. Gustav. See Oridon. Unknown location. We see an albino lying on the floor while parts of his body were burned, but he was still alive. How cow. You were lucky, those flames are very difficult to put out, he said seriously looking at the albino. Bali. Yeah, whatever, how long will it take me to recover so I can break that bastard's face, he said annoyed. How cow. I don't think you can fight anymore, he said seriously. Bali. What the hell are you talking about, he said angrily. How cow. I put out the flames on your body, but the fire in your heart won't let you fight again, he said seriously. Bali. What are you talking about? If I fight, my heart will burn, he said seriously. How cow, not only your heart but your entire body. 2 days later. Oridon West entrance. The boy saw a huge kingdom with many guards with several wanted signs where the face of evil was. Mal. And to think that before they acclaimed me with their future queen, he said sadly. Issei. Don't complain anymore, tell me where we have to go, he said seriously. Mal. We have to go to that place, she said seriously pointing to a cloudy island. Sinan. What place is that? She said confused. Evil. On the island of the lost, they locked up all the villains and their descendants, that's where I grew up, she said, head bowed. Issei. Hey, I don't want you to get discouraged, I want you to be strong, we are here to save your friends, and they don't want to see you sad, understood, he said seriously. Mal. Yes, I understand, he said looking up. And Haru. Well, they will be there, he said curiously. Mal. If there is no safer place to lock up criminals, if they were arrested, I'm almost sure they were sent there, he said seriously. And Haru. Well, what's the plan? He said seriously. Issei. Easy, we go in, we find them and we use Travis's scroll, he said seriously. Stop, you're under arrest, said a man in a guard suit. Issei. This can't be. City of Oridon. The demons and company walked discreetly while they looked around the place, realizing that there were mirrors where the future kings of the kingdom passed by, saying that they would not allow any supernatural being or one with powers to walk free if they did not swear loyalty to them and the kingdom, and that they would be ready for the consequences. Riaz. It seems that those two are crazy, she said seriously. Sona, it seems so, but let's stop looking at this and look for an important place for them where we can steal information, don't you think so, Gustav, she said, looking at the vampire who kept his eyes closed. Asper. Nai-sama, are you okay, he said curiously while a blonde looked at him intrigued. Gustav, guys, I think I'm going to do something stupid, he said seriously. Riaz. What are you talking about? She said confused. Gustav. You're going to be fearsome and eradicate everyone in front of you, he said while summoning a giant circle in the sky, causing a kind of T-Rex to emerge that fell in the center of the city. Riaz. But what are you doing? She screamed confused. Gustav. Monster screamed, alerting everyone who began to run away in terror. Sona. Pa, why did you do that? She said nervously. Gustav, shut up and follow me, he said, starting to run. Everyone didn't understand what was happening, but they started running after the black-haired man who was heading towards where a cloudy island was seen. But Issei. The four boys were handcuffed as they were taken to the island of the lost, and it was clear how bad she was. She felt helpless, because now she would be trapped, and she took her new friends to that same place. Commander. When we take them to the island we will immediately notify Prince Ben and Princess Evie for their trial, he said, looking at the purple-haired girl. Corporal. Sir, we have a problem, a very scared boy shouted. Commander. What's happening? He said seriously. Pape. A strange creature appeared in the center of the city and is causing great destruction, he said nervously. Commander. This is serious. Platoon, go on. You and 3 soldiers escort the prisoners to the island. Serious shout, starting to run. Corporal. You heard the commander walking, he said seriously, pointing with a spear. I don't think so, said a voice, hitting him on the back of the neck, knocking him out. Issei. Who are you? He said, looking at a dark-haired man who was very calm, watching the 4 boys before the other soldiers fell to the ground unconscious. Anharu. Wow, you are strong, he said in amazement. Gustav. Nice to meet you, Sekirute, my name is. He couldn't finish because a rather large group appeared in front of both of them. Issei. Ria's, girls, he said in surprise. Gremory's. Issei. Dangerous encounter. Everything was silent and the tension could be felt in the environment since the girls who had hurt Issei's heart were in front of him, which was almost impossible as they found him in that place. Ria's. Issei, it's you, I finally found you, she said with tears, throwing herself at him, followed by all the others. I see. Laugh girls, what are you doing here, he said incredulously. Dad. Issei, who are they? She said curiously, but you could hear a bit of jealousy in her voice. Issei. Well, she is Ria's Gremory, a high-class devil and my master, he said nervously. Anharu. Wait, she's the girl who reincarnated you. Wasn't she the one who she couldn't finish because Issei covered her mouth? Issei. If it's her, you don't have to repeat it if you want, he said seriously. Gustav. How nice, a nice memory, now we can go, he said seriously. Issei. Yes, of course, but one thing, who are you? He said seriously. Gustav. Yes, my name is, couldn't continue because Gasper spoke. Gasper. More guards, nervous shout, pointing to a path, seeing several guards running in his direction. Issei. Then we will make introductions, we have to go, he said nervously, starting to run, followed by everyone. Everyone started running all over the place trying to lose the guards, which was useless since he seemed to be in perfect condition. Val. Issei, we can't run in this direction, if we do we'll end up in a, he couldn't continue because they reached a dead end. Issei. No way out, he said nervously. Akeno. And now what do we do? She said nervously. Anaru. There is a door, she said, pointing to an entrance. When they opened it they saw that it was a mini warehouse that could hold at most 20 people, and there were 22 of them, which made everyone think about what to do. Riaz. We won't all go in, she said nervously. Gasper, transform into a bat, he said seriously. Gasper Nai-sama, what are you going to do? He said nervously. I'll distract them if they enter the alley and see the door, they'll look for them here, so don't make noise, he said seriously. Everyone looked at this confused while the black-haired man closed the door, leaving everyone in total silence. Issei. Gasper, you have a brother, he said curiously. Gasper. Yes, he said happily from his shoulder now like a bat. But the black-haired boy, he stood at the entrance of the alley watching the guards approach, which made him nervous seeing a woman come out of a store having a somewhat absurd idea, but he had no other choice. Excuse me, miss, he said, pulling her by the arm. Hey, what's up? She couldn't continue because the black-haired man kissed her, which surprised her. Guard. Hear you, sorry young people, it was not our intention to interrupt you, he said embarrassedly, leaving with his companions. After a few seconds the boys separated while the woman was still in shock but slightly blushed. Excuse me, but I had to do it, he said, turning around and starting to run back to the alley. Elsa, are you okay? Said another girl looking at the woman. Elsa. No, Anna, I think I'm in love. The boys remained silent until the black-haired man opened the door, making them feel calmer. Issei. They're gone, he said curiously. If we are already safe as far as possible, he said seriously. Riaz. Issei, what are you doing in Oregon? Where have you been? Why did you disappear? She said, worried about the brown-haired boy. Sinan. I think you have no right to ask for explanation, she said seriously. Irina. What do you mean? We are not, couldn't continue because Zenobia spoke. Zenobia. She's right, we have no right to demand anything from Issei, she said seriously, surprising the brown-haired boy. Anharu. I'm sorry to interrupt, but don't you think we should continue with our plan? He said seriously. Issei. If it's true Riaz, I'm sorry but I must continue with my mission he said seriously. Riaz. We will help you she said determinedly. Issei. No, this is none of your business he said seriously. Gustav. Of course you're going to the island of the lost, no he said seriously. Mal. Wow how do you know that? She said confused. Gustav. Our mission is to know the most dangerous place in Oridan to see if they are a threat to the factions he said seriously, while the Citri and Gremory looked at him confused. Issei. Wait, the factions know about the existence of Oridan he said surprised. Riaz. Yes if that's how it is, they also know that the future kings want to have control of all supernatural beings she said seriously. Mal why you're serious they're crazy she said incredulously. Gustav. So, how about we go to that island instead of wasting time he said seriously. Issei. Let's go. 20 minutes later. We can see everyone on the seashore looking at the island in the distance. Issei. How will we get in? He said seriously. Mal. We can enter with a teleportation spell, but when we leave we won't know where we will appear since the energy barrier alters all magic, said the purple-haired girl. Issei. We don't have anything better so let's do the rest, give us a hand he said seriously, while the Redit and Sona began to create a fairly large magic circle. Well guys, I'm on my way. Isle of the Lost. The boys suddenly fell into a place that looked like a garbage dump and everything was dim and grey, as if life was lost in that place. Val. Come back he said sadly. Issei. It's not time to regret, we must find your friends he said seriously. Val. You're right she said seriously. And Haru. An idea of where we started looking he said curiously. Mal. The truth is I don't know, everything is the same and there was never a jail or anything like that since the island itself is a prison he said sadly. Gusta. And what are the boys like that we are looking for? He said seriously. Issei. A why do you ask he said curiously. Gustav. Because in that kind of tower there are two chained people he said, pointing to the arch where the exit of the island was where there were two boys, one on each side of the arch. Bad JJ circa Carlos he said with his hand over his mouth when he saw his half-dead friends on top of those towers. Issei. Yes, it's them he said seriously. Riaz. And how do we help them? She said confused. Issei. I know how he said activating his balance breaker and launching himself with everything against the towers. Everyone on the island saw a strange red being flying at full speed against a frame with a desire to destroy them. The brown-haired boy destroyed both towers with a brutal blow, while using his speed he managed to hold both boys and then leave with his companions. Gustav. That was crazy, but I admit I liked it he said watching the brown-haired boy approach them. Riaz. Issei has always been like that, he always acts on instinct in order to help others she said, without looking away from the brown-haired boy. At that moment the brown-haired boy landed leaving the boys on the ground, while Mal ran to see them, while Issei's armor disappeared. Bad. J. Carlos, I'm sorry, it's my fault you're like this, I'm sorry she said hugging the two boys while crying. J. Ma too bad you're alive, said the happy black-haired man. Carlos. How nice to see you be we thought they had captured you and done something worse to you he said, reciprocating the hug from the purple-haired girl. Issei. We have to go, that caught a lot of attention he couldn't continue because a blow sent him flying. All. Issei they shouted worriedly watching the brown-haired boy go through several walls. I'm sorry to tell you that no one will leave this island, said a muscular man with a sword. Evil Hercules. Problems with a god. Everyone looked seriously at the powerful Hercules who looked at them without any concern. Hercules. It would be better if you didn't try anything, and you better go inside he couldn't continue because a being in red armor attacked him, breaking several walls. Riaz Mal Issei, they screamed in surprise. Issei. Come on son of Zeus, I kicked the ass of one of your brothers and your uncle Hades, so you don't intimidate me he said seriously giving him a pretty hard punch. Hercules. Come on Sekirute, show me what you got he said standing up, while Issei modified his armor for a more corpulent one. The boys watched as the two beings began to fight, connecting blows, each clash shook the entire island. Val. This can't continue like this, if they continue they will end up destroying the entire island she said worriedly. Riaz. But since neither of them is going to rest to see the other defeated she said nervously. Gustav. And if we help him he said calmly looking at Anharu and Saji. Saji. What do you have in mind? He said curiously while the other looked at him curiously. Gustav. Sigyn. As they began to run, a blue-haired man watched everything from a slightly remote spot, smiling mockingly but also looking at the purple-haired girl with interest. It seems you found some very interesting allies. Hercules. You're pretty good, said the Greek while wiping some blood from his mouth. Issei. You're not doing so bad either, he said, regenerating his armor. Hercules. Well, let's continue, he said seriously, launching himself again against the brown-haired boy, but in the middle of the attack, he was grabbed by one leg by a strange purple whip. Issei. That's it, he said, impressed seeing a blonde holding the whip. Saji. I'm sorry, Lord God, but we can't let you cause more damage, he said seriously as he applied more force to his grip. Hercules. And you really think that simple little rope is going to stop me, he said seriously. And Haru. Who said it would be Rikiri, he said, connecting an electric sphere to the reed. Dust of maximum flame, he said, appearing in front of him, taking advantage of the fact that he was stunned by the previous attack, causing a large flame. Everyone saw the great flare. All the inhabitants of the island could not believe that some strangers were fighting, and not only that, they were defeating one of the strongest beings in Oridan. And Haru. Issei breaks up with him, he said seriously. Issei. How, he said, confused. Greg. Issei the cannons quickly, he said seriously. Issei. Yes, it's true, Drag with all of Dragon Burst, he said, the cannons on his wings appearing, launching a powerful attack. The explosion was huge, raising a fairly large curtain of smoke that slowly began to dissipate, revealing the four boys standing there, somewhat doubtful as to whether they had really managed to defeat the god, but their doubts were revealed when they saw Hercules standing with some wounds and torn clothes, but standing with a serious look. Saji. This must be a joke, he said, putting himself on guard. Issei. We have no choice, we must continue fighting, he said seriously. Hercules. Will they attack with something better? He couldn't continue because something attacked him from behind, leaving him unconscious. And Haru. Who are you? He said seriously, seeing a blue-haired man with rock clothes and a blue stone in his hand. Before they could answer, all the girls arrived, seeing the four of them in front of that man and Hercules lying on the ground. Issei. It's been a while, Hades, he said seriously, revealing the identity of the being, surprising everyone. Hades. Hello, Red Lizard, what brings you to my humble pigsty? He said seriously. And Haru. Really, he is Hades, the king of the underworld. Seriously, I would think he would be more imposing, he said curiously. Hades. Who is the disrespectful brat, he said seriously, while the boy was surprised by what he called him. Val. What are you doing here, Dad, she said seriously. Demon's gust of Papa, they said surprised. Issei. If Mal is the daughter of Hades, he said seriously. Hades. I see you found good company, not bad, he said calmly. Val. That doesn't matter to you, you didn't answer my question, she said seriously. Hades. You get so hostile after I helped you against my brother's son, he said seriously. Issei. You helped us, and what makes you think that we couldn't beat him? He said seriously. Hades. There is no doubt about that, but there were two options. One, that you would enter your maximum form, the Diabolos dragon, and end up sinking this island and killing everyone on it, or two, that you and your friends would fight for a long time against him and his enormous resistance to the point that when you defeated him, you would be surrounded by other powerful beings from Oridan. So I think I did help you, he said seriously. Everyone remained silent because what the king of the underworld said was very logical, but the first to react was Sona, who decided to speak. Sona. And how did you defeat Hercules without causing a great disaster? She said doubtfully. Hades. Easy, I attacked him from behind while he was watching them, so I saw the opportunity and took advantage of it, he said seriously. Issei. Well, now that we got rid of him, we should take advantage to escape, he said seriously. Hades. They must do it quickly, several heroes of the kingdom are on their way, he said seriously, watching how the path that linked the kingdom with the island was formed with several armed men on it. Issei. It's time to use the scroll, he said, taking out a paper with strange symbols. And Haru. They have to combine all their magic power, he said seriously, looking at Issei. Dust of. If Riaz and Sona help, it will load faster, he said seriously. Issei. It's okay, if we all want to go out we have to do it, he said seriously. Thus the four of them stretched out their hands on the scroll, transferring their magic into it as it began to charge. Issei. It's ready, everyone, hold on, he said nervously. Everyone didn't hesitate and quickly held hands, with Issei being the one holding the scroll. Hades. Take it, you'll need it, he said, throwing the brazier at her. Bad Papa, wait, he couldn't finish because they were transported, leaving the god looking at the entrance of the island and how the barrier seemed to weaken. Hades. It's time for some fun. Oridan Castle. We see a mature woman running into a room with people but unable to stop herself from screaming out of worry. Fairy godmother. They stole Maleficent's crown and scepter. Fixing things. The boys fell into a forest in a somewhat unknown place for everyone while they tried to get up since they had a somewhat conspicuous entrance. Riaz. Oh, where are we? She said in pain. Val. No, I don't know who gave us the scroll. He told us that it would take us to a part of the world, but he didn't tell us which one, she said in pain. Asia. I don't know what place this is, but it scares me, she said, somewhat scared, seeing the forest looking somewhat gloomy and spooky. Issei. You're right, this place looks pretty scary. Gustav. We are in Akigahara, better known as the Suicide Forest in Japan, he said, seriously surprising everyone. And Haru. And how the hell do you know that? He said curiously while everyone looked at him. Gustav. Because this place stinks of death so much that I could say that here in this place. There are thousands of people who decided to take their lives, he said, seriously surprising everyone. Sona. You can really know all that, she said incredulously. Gustav. No, there's a sign for the place, he said, pointing to a rather large sign that said where they were while everyone fell to the floor. Rias. Wow, that explains a lot of things, she said, getting up. Issei. It would be best to get out of this place, he said seriously while everyone nodded. Rias. Do you think we should go to Kuo? She said nervously. Sinan. I don't know, we should contact our boss to see what we will do now that we have finished the mission, she said thoughtfully. Rias. I understand, but since Kuo is the closest place to go, those kids need to get Karen quickly, she said, seriously pointing at the kids. Issei. She's right, we should go to Kuo to help Evil's friends, he said seriously. Her entire team nodded as they looked at the Redeed, who could only nod, so that she and Sona could create a circle and transport everyone to the city of Kuo. Kuo residence, Kuo City. Everyone appeared at the Chestnut House, so that seconds later Sona and her entourage retired to rest from what had happened, while Asia indicated to Malin and Haru where to take the boys so that she could treat them. Issei. Thank you very much for everything you did today, he said somewhat nervously. Rias. You have nothing to thank, you are still part of the entourage and we had to help you, besides Issei, we wanted to talk to you, she said somewhat nervously. Issei. What do you want to talk about? He said curiously. Rias. About what happened that day at the occult club, she said nervously and worried. Issei. I wouldn't like to talk about that topic anymore, and I understand your decision, he said something sad. Rias. No, Issei, we have to talk about that topic because you don't know the truth, she said sadly. Issei. What are you talking about, he said confused. Rias. What happens is that all that breaking up with you was Irina's plan, she said nervously. Issei. I don't understand what you're talking about, he said surprised. Ross. Irina had the idea of breaking up with you to see how much you would fight to get back our love and how much you loved us, she said nervously, while the others nodded. Issei. Are you serious about this? He said with his eyes open. Akeno. That's right, we thought it was a good idea, boo, but we realized it was stupid and you don't know how much we regret it, she said sadly. Issei. I just can't believe it, or I mean everything I did for you didn't mean anything to you. I always gave my all, I died for you, I helped you with every problem you had, I even asked Michael so that Asia and Zenobia could pray for you, all the sacrifices I made didn't mean anything to you, she said angrily while tears came out of her face. Rias. No, Issei, you're wrong. We do appreciate all the sacrifices you made for us, and that's what made us fall in love with you, and we were completely stupid and we should never have done that, and she couldn't continue because the brown-haired boy interrupted her. Issei. I don't want to listen to them anymore, I don't believe anything they say, he said, leaving the place. Rias. Issei, wait, she screamed worriedly, trying to follow him, but was stopped by Sinan. Sinan. I think they've done enough, don't you think? She said seriously, leaving the girls with their heads downcast. So everything fell silent while the black-haired boy came out without them noticing and began to look for the brown-haired boy, not taking long to find him since he was in a fountain where, curiously, he had lost his life due to a certain fall. Issei. They never loved me, he screamed sadly while looking at the fountain. Gustav. I wouldn't say that, he said seriously behind him. Issei. You, don't come to me with the story that they are sorry, and the whole thing is more than obvious that he couldn't continue because he received a blow to the abdomen, putting him on his knees. Gustav. Maybe you don't believe my word, so I'll show you, he said, knocking their foreheads together as his eyes began to shine, causing images of the girls to appear in the brown-haired boy's head. First, Asia was shown praying every night for the brown-haired boy's well-being, and in the middle of her prayers she began to cry, asking for forgiveness for her actions and having faith that the brown-haired boy would forgive her. Then there was Zenobia, who every night looked at Ascalon while tears came out of her eyes so that she later cut her hands while repeating the phrase "Issei, forgive me." Then there was Ross, who cried every night for committing such a stupidity with the only man who loved her with all his being while hugging a brown shirt until she fell deeply asleep. There was also Kaneko, who spent her time looking at herself in the mirror while showing her Nekomata traces while hugging a photo of her with a brunette and then went to sleep with it while wondering where her senpai was. Then we have Akeno, who every afternoon went to her temple and hit herself with a whip on her bare back, while repeating over and over again, "I'm sorry, Issei," and she did it, regardless of whether she opened up from the force of the blows. Almost at the end we had Ria's here. The chestnut was shown how Ria sang in that same fountain with all the pain in her heart and how every night she went to the boy's room and cried until she fell asleep. And in the end we had the one who caused all this, Irina, who cursed herself every day for her stupidity and began to deny what she believed, reaching a point where her wings turned completely black, indicating that she had fallen, and that same day she lost all her faith and had the only goal, which was to find the brown-haired boy and ask for his forgiveness. The images ended up leaving the brown-haired boy speechless. He couldn't articulate any words. He could feel the girl's sadness at every moment, and that caused pressure in his chest. Gustav. I hope you understand that they love you. Doubts. We found both boys staring at each other, while the only sound was that of the water from the fountain. Neither of them seemed to say anything. Issei. Everything you showed me is real, he said with his head down. Gustav. Yes, it is Surzich. For a few months now I had a bad feeling, and that is that she sent me to take care of her sister's group, including you. I always knew where you were, but I still kept quiet. You were within your rights to leave after what they did to you, but I was also able to witness what they suffered when they realized their mistake, he said seriously. Issei. I see, thanks for not revealing my location, but could you tell me what bad omen Surzich had, he said doubtfully. Gustav. The hacker Yuakuvali Lucifer tries to kill you and tried to convince the Gremory to join him, but they refused, and the coward tried to use the dragon pheromones to make them sleep with him, but with willpower and help from my brother, they managed to stop him long enough for me to appear, and I could get rid of him, he said seriously. Issei. He tried to do that thing, he said angrily while clenching his fists, he said seriously. Gustav. Calm down a little, you'll enter in that strange form, he said seriously. Greg. Buddy, the vampire is right. If you keep going like this, you'll enter Juggernaut Drive, he said seriously, appearing on the brown-haired boy's arm. Issei. Oh okay, but Gustav, tell me something. You killed Vali, he said, trying to calm down. Gustav. No, if you want to crush it you can do it, although I feel that it is much more limited now, he said somewhat mockingly. Issei. Well, I'll kill him with my own hands. Underworld Gremory Castle. We can see the Mao looking at a black-haired boy while they looked at each other somewhat seriously. Travis. Oh come on Surzich, aren't you happy to see me? He said calmly. Surzich. I'm glad, but I don't like the fact that you didn't tell me where Issei was, being the pillar of the factions, he said seriously. Travis. I know I did wrong, but you know how devastated I was by what your sister and her entourage did, he said thoughtfully. Surzich. Well, you're right about that. Issei deserved to do whatever he wanted after what they did to him, but at least you should have given me a clue as to their location, he said curiously. Travis. Well, that doesn't matter anymore, now everyone gathered in Oridon, and now they are in Kuo, he said carefree. Surzich. If it's true, well I would like to ask you how dangerous the beings of Oridon are, since you have more knowledge of them, he said seriously. Travis. They are somewhat strong, their most powerful warrior has a power similar to Odin's, but they are arrogant and could cause a war without thinking about it, and that would cause a lot of death and destruction, he said seriously. Surzich. That's a problem, he said seriously. Travis. And how is the search for the hacker Yuku going? He said seriously. Surzich, he's still missing. Haidu residence. In a room in the house, Mal watched nervously as Asia used her sacred gear on both boys, healing all their wounds. Asia. It's over now, she said somewhat tired. Mal. And that would be all, we are already recovered, she said nervously. Asia. They will continue sleeping for a few hours, maybe a little hungry, but physically they are already healthy, she said calmly leaving the room. Mal. Thank you, he said politely while the blonde smiled and then closed the door. The girl looked sadly at her friends lying on the beds while ideas and memories wandered through her mind with nostalgia. Mal. I promise you that everything will go back to normal and we can have a happy life, he said taking them by the hands. The purple-haired girl was about to leave the place to rest when out of nowhere Hades's flame lit up with great intensity, alerting the girl. Dad. Something is disturbing the embers, but it is impossible. The only thing that could cause it would be he could not continue because he saw a green light in the distance on the outskirts of the city between the trees. Evil my mother's scepter. Kuo Forest. We see a girl with pink hair with purple highlights wearing a crown and carrying an ancient scepter. Audrey. I finally found you, Mal, she said seriously while looking at the entire city of Kuo. Soon the girl smiled maliciously when she saw a mansion that stood out among the other buildings, but she did not pay attention to the size, but rather to the fact that in one of the windows, she could see an intense blue light. Audrey, soon you will meet evil. Kuo Park. The two boys tensed after feeling a strange power, but it was quite strong, and that could mean trouble for them later on. Issei. Drake, you can feel where this power comes from, he said seriously. Drake. No, my friend, your power covers the entire city equally, making it impossible to detect, he said seriously. Gustav. We must return to your house, we do not know what the owner of that power is looking for, he said seriously. Issei. Yes, it goes. He couldn't continue because a magic circle appeared, dropping a black-haired woman with cat-like aspects and a lowly with a rather winded witch outfit. Issei. Kuroka left AP, but what happened to them, he said alerted while running to them. Kuroka, I said, it's really you, she said weakly. Issei. Yes, Kuroka, it's me, what happened to you, why are you like this, he said alerted seeing the unconscious witch. Kuroka, wow, it was Bali. Queen of Mean. Silence filled the park in Kuo City as a chestnut tree began to burn with fury to the point that its power was released uncontrollably as it looked at an unconscious Nakamata in its arms. Issei. I will kill him, I swear I will kill him, he said it with fury, while his eyes became those of a dragon and his body was surrounded by energy. Gustav. Hyoudou, calm down, maybe I don't know how you feel, but we must help them before it's too late, he said seriously trying to calm him down. Greg. Buddy, listen to the vampire, you have to help the Nakamata and the magician, then we can take care of that damn volley, he said a little nervously. The brown-haired boy seemed to begin to slowly lower his power, but his furious face did not seem to lower, but before he could speak a magic circle appeared from which the brown-haired boy's team emerged along with the Gremory clan. All that was missing was evil. Rias. Guys are okay because I could not continue when seeing Kuroka and Lefei. Kaneko. Northeast Sama screamed worriedly as she ran to see her. And Haru. But what happened to them, he said confused. Issei. Wow, it was that damn volley, he said furiously. Rias. That bastard again, she said angrily. Irina. But it was assumed that with what Gustav had done he would no longer be able to fight, she said confused. Gustav. Maybe he's not working alone, he said seriously. Rias. You're right, besides we don't know where Biku and Arthur are, she said seriously. Akeno. But Lefei is Arthur's sister, he would be capable of doing something to her, she said doubtfully. Zenobia. With people like Volley they are so crazy that you don't know what they can do, she said seriously. Gustav. That doesn't matter anymore, now we must return to your house to cure them, he said seriously. Rias. You're right, I'll take care of Lefei, Akeno, your help to Kaneko with Kuroka is fine, she said, watching the brunette nod. So everyone left in a magic circle while Issei and Anharu carried the wounded so that when they got to the house they could leave them in some rooms so that the girls could begin to heal them. The next day. We see the brown-haired boy sitting under a tree while thinking about everything that had happened since the breakup with the girls, his new friends, meeting Mal, Oridan's mission, Gustav, revealing what really happened with the girls, and the actions of that damn volley. Greg. We thought that with the defeat of the Trahixa, everything would be peace and tranquility, right? He said thoughtfully in the brown-haired man's mind. Issei. You're right, but we should realize that a happy ending does not exist, and I'm not saying this because happiness is only temporary, I'm saying this because there will always be evil and people who want power. This will lead us to an eternal cycle of protecting and defending the people important to us, and that's why we should take advantage of the time and peace with our loved ones, because you don't know how long it will last, he said with a calm look, seeing everyone gathered in the room talking without much concern. Greg. You've matured now, buddy, he thought to himself as Issei entered the house. Issei. Hey girls, how are you, Kuroka and Lefei, he said entering the room. Rias. They have already recovered, but we let them rest, she said calmly. Issei. I'm so glad, and you guys must be evil friends, he said shaking hands with Jay and Carlos. Carlos. It's a bad taste that she told us that you helped her, he said calmly. Jay. And the truth is, thank you for helping us escape. To be honest, we didn't know how much longer we were going to last in those conditions, he said, shaking the brown-haired man's hand. Issei. You don't have to thank me, besides it was fun, he said something funny. Mal. And how are you, could not continue because. The front door of the house flew off after a huge explosion that raised a curtain of dust that began to dissipate as footsteps were heard and a figure was shown revealing a girl with maleficent staff. Mal, Carlos, J. Audrey, they said in disbelief. Audrey. Wow, it seems like they recognized me, she said mockingly. Mal. Audrey, what are you doing with my mother's crown and scepter? She said confused. Rias. Wait, they know her, she said confused. Jay. Yes, she was our classmate at the Oridan school, she said seriously. Audrey. Oh, yes, we were partners, of course, she said coldly. Mal. But what are you talking about, if we went to school together and I thought we were good classmates, she said confused. Audrey. Seriously, after you ruined my life, she said angrily. Mal. I don't know what you're talking about, she said confused. Audrey. You don't know, well I'll explain it to you. I'm so tired of pretending. Where's my happy ending? Verse 1. I followed all the rules. I drew inside the lines. I never asked for anything that wasn't mine. I waited patiently for my time. But when it finally came. He said her name. And now I feel an overwhelming pain. I mean, it's in my veins. I mean, it's in my head. My thoughts spin in circles like a toy train. I'm like a perfect photograph with a broken frame. And I know exactly who to blame. Choir. I never thought of myself as bad. I always thought I'd be the queen. And there's no middle ground. Cause if I can't have that, then I'll be the leader of darkness and evil. Now I got a demon on my shoulder. Where there used to be an angel and he calls me the queen. Verse 2. Being good was my past. But I got hurt for the last time. And I won't let another person take advantage of me. Fury burns my skin to the 3rd degree. Now my blood is boiling hotter than a sea of fire. No one will come near me. They will bow down to the evil queen. Her nightmare is my dream. Wait for them to fall for my evil plans. Choir. I never thought of myself as evil. I always thought I'd be the queen and there's no middle ground. Cause if I can't have that, then I'll be the leader of darkness and evil. Now I got a demon on my shoulder. Where there used to be an angel. And he calls me, the queen of evil he calls me. The queen of evil calling me. The queen of evil. Verse 3. Something is calling me, it's so magnetic. My body moves, but I don't know where I'm going. All my senses have left me defenseless. This darkness around me promises revenge. The price I'm willing to pay is high. There's nothing to lose when you're alone and friendless. So my only interest is to show off this princess. That I am the queen and my reign will be endless. Bridge. I want what I deserve. I want to rule the world. Sit back, watch and learn, it's finally my turn. Chorus. If you want a villain of a queen, I'll be like you've never seen me. I'll show you what it means. Now that I'm a villain I'll be the leader of darkness and evil. Now I got a demon on my shoulder. Where there used to be an angel and he calls me, the queen of evil calling me the queen of evil. Out row. I want what I deserve. Everyone was in disbelief as they watched a girl sing, letting out her pain while the hair look felt bad, since part of the girl's pain was her fault. Audrey. Now I will get my revenge. Echoes of the past. Everyone was on alert watching the girls with a scepter in their hand threatening to attack. Issei. Wait a minute, all this was because that idiot preferred evil over you, he said seriously. Audrey, silence, you don't know the pain I went through seeing my life ruined by her, she said angrily. Val. Audrey, I'm sorry. I didn't know that being with him meant so much to you, she said sadly. Audrey. I'm not going to buy that stupid story that you're sorry and want to apologize, and now that he traded you in for your stupid friend, I have more work to do, she said seriously. Val. I see, so you want to get revenge on me, not to give me back all the harm I did to you in the past, she said seriously. Audrey. Exactly, and none of your stupid friends will be able to stop me, she said, seriously raising the scepter. Val. Do it, finish me off, he said seriously, standing in front of her. Oh what, they shouted in surprise. Audrey. What the hell are you planning now? She said seriously. Val. Nothing, I just want to end this, end my existence and leave my friends alone. Your hatred is towards me, they have nothing to do with it, she said seriously. Carlos. What the hell are you doing wrong? He said nervously. Val. Protect them, I've already caused so much damage, come on, attack me, she said seriously and full of determination. Audrey. If that's what you want, she couldn't continue because something sent her flying. Issei. But what is that, he said looking at a strange robotic being. Search protocol to find and recover the king's crown and the scepter from the villain known as Maleficent, said the robot. J. Is Baymax a sentinel, one of the most recognized warriors of Oridon? Issei. I see, he said seriously. Baymax. Exterminate, he said, shooting with his arm at the pink-haired girl who seemed disoriented. Ad. Audrey screamed, pushing the girl away, saving her from the blow, but the fist caused several damages, causing many rubble to fall on the two girls. All bad, they shouted worried. Issei. Well, let's dent that thing, he said angrily launching into the attack. Gustav. You always act so recklessly, right? He said, curious. Riaz. Yes, that's usually your style, he said with a drop of sweat on the back of his neck. Sinan. If he doesn't seem to act any other way, she said with her hand on her forehead. Baymax. New enemy approaching, he said seriously as he recovered his arm and punched the brown-haired boy. The shockwave created by the collision of the two shook the entire house and sent some to the ground by force. Anharu. Wow, that thing is really strong, he said in amazement. Hiba. Do you think we should help Issei? He said nervously. Anharu. I think so, so Gremory, you and the others go to help Mal with that girl, we help Issei, he said seriously. Rias. Okay, Kiba, cover us, he said seriously, understanding Kiba's situation. Asper. Come on senpai, you can do it, he said, activating his sacred gear and paralyzing the robot. Issei. Dragon shoot, he said, knocking down the robot. And hair, leave it to me, he shouted, throwing a ray from his hands. The shock shook the robot as it writhed and stopped moving seconds later. Did they really beat him that fast? He said in disbelief. Carlos. Well, if they fought Hercules, do you think they couldn't handle him? He said seriously. Issei. Hey, do you think we defeated him with that? He said somewhat unsure. It seems that Anharu's discharge burned all of its circuits, now it's an empty shell, he said seriously, looking at the robot. On the other hand, we had someone trying to get up because some debris that fell after the impact of the robot's fist fell on her and Audrey. Audrey? Because you helped me, she said confused. Val. I'll be honest with you, I don't know, and the truth is I'm not interested in knowing, but the important thing is that we're fine, right? She said seriously. Audrey. Not your leg, she said somewhat incredulously. Val. Hey, what the oh, that she said incredulously upon seeing a fragment of concrete buried in her leg. Audrey. You really never wanted to do this to me, she said looking away. Val. No, of course not. In fact, I thought that when the ceremony happened and all that, I thought that we had done well. I never thought that I would cause you so much pain and suffering, he said sadly. Audrey. Haha, we are the opposite of our mothers, don't you think? She said with a fake smile. Val. What do you mean? She said confused. Audrey. My mother is a princess who defeated the curse of the most evil villain, and her daughters are a good girl who cares about others, no matter who her mother is, and I am the daughter of a princess, and I only seek power and revenge on those who hurt me, she said sadly. Val. Yes, we are the opposite of them, but it is not too late to change. Maybe you just strayed a little from the path, but you can have your happy ending, she said seriously. Audrey. Do you really believe that? She said doubtfully. Val. Sure, besides being bad isn't so bad, she said seriously, while her eyes glowed green. Audrey. What are you talking about? She said confused. Val. I didn't ruin your life, it was that idiot Ben and he and his current fiancée who did it to me, and soon their stupidities will cause a war against the supernaturals. What if we use the war as a pretext to kill them? He said with a serious smile. Audrey, I think that's perfect. At that moment, Riaz and the others managed to remove all the rubble, managing to see the girls, somewhat in pain and with a fragment of wall in their leg. Riaz. Bad, you're fine, he said, helping her up. Bad. Yes, it's only my leg that hurts, she said in pain. Sinan. You better not move, she said seriously, pointing her gun at Audrey. Val. Calm down, otherwise she and I will fix things, she said calmly. Bekeno. Seriously, but 5 minutes ago I wanted to kill you, she said confused. Audrey. Yes, it is true, but it made me understand wrong. It is true that I locked myself in my cloud where I wanted everyone to pay attention to me, and no, I am not the center of the universe, and I must work to have a happy and peaceful life, she said, standing up while the others looked at her in surprise. Issei. Well, if it looks bad, well, there is no blame, but we will keep an eye on you, he said seriously. Riaz. At this rate the house will have to be remodeled to receive more people, she said with a nervous laugh. Audrey. Don't worry, I can find a place to stay, I don't want to bother you, she said nervously. Gustav. You can stay in Gasper's room, he said seriously. Issei. In Gasper's because, he said confused. Gasper. Because Nai-sama and I will go to train, he said excitedly. Issei. Really, he said in surprise. Gustav. Yes, and also Gasper must take his true appearance, he said seriously. Issei. True appearance, he said confused. Gasper. If Helsing's transmutation. Unknown location. Through a gloomy forest a girl ran desperately with a wand in her hands while in the distance she was followed by armed beings. Where are you, Carlos? Truths. A few days have passed after what happened with Audrey, now the house has been repaired, and although under surveillance the girl has adapted to life in Japan, there is also less tension between Issei and the girls, but that does not make the girls launch themselves against him to be together again, because the way they do it they go slow. Travis. Hey guys, it's been a while, said the man appearing in the center of the room next to Surzic. Issei. Hey old man, what's up, huh? You know Surzic, he said confused. Travis. That's right, kid, he and I have been good friends for a while now, he said calmly. Sinan. Wow, I didn't expect that, she said curiously like her partner. And Haru, now what mission do you have for us? He said curiously. Surzic. Well guys, we haven't come to send you on a mission or anything like that, he said seriously. Riaz. Then what do we owe your visit to, Oni-sama? She said respectfully. Travis. We came to talk about the fun show you put on in Oregon, he said calmly, showing some images of what happened. Issei. Yes, I think we made a pretty big mess, he said with a nervous smile. Surzich. Yes, it seems that way, but well, not only that, we also want to talk about Volley Lucifer, he said seriously, while Issei changed his face to a more serious one. Issei. We already know what he tried, besides that he tried to kill Lefei and Kuroka, he said seriously. Surzich. I know, and the little information we have tells us that he works for Rizavam and his criminal organization known as Klepeth, he said seriously. Issei. But Rizavam was dead, he said confused. Travis. Recent information revealed that that bastard is still alive, he said seriously. He is. But I don't understand why he is with Rizavam if he hated him, she said confused. Surzich. According to Azazel, his hatred for Issei is greater than that for his grandfather, he said seriously. Issei. But that's ridiculous, I didn't do half of the things he did to her, he said confused. Travis. It seems that the simple fact that a simple boy reincarnated as a demon surpassed him with Kreese and also became someone much more important in the factions than the strongest hacker Yuiku in history, he said seriously, leaving the brown-haired boy somewhat thoughtful. And Haru. That's true, because one of the proudest creatures are the dragons, and tell me if you were him and you were a special being, you are a half-demon who was lucky enough to have one of the most powerful sacred gears, but not just a demon, but you are the descendant of the original Lucifer, the most powerful demon, and suddenly an ordinary boy appears. The vile pervert who was lucky and became someone much more important than you, a unique being, how would you feel? He said seriously, leaving everyone thoughtful. Issei. Aside from the fact that you called me a vile pervert, it's true, but even so, his motives are ridiculous, but I don't care if he tries another stupid thing like that again, I'll kill him, he said seriously. Surzich. Well, I see that things are quite tense, and I hope you are alert for anything, he said seriously. Issei. I know, but tell us what the other leaders think, he said seriously. Surzich. As for Oregon, we are quite tense to know what they are trying to do, and with the other thing, he is already one of the most wanted, and there is a price on his head, he said seriously. Issei. I see, thanks for the information, he said calmly. So the two men left, leaving all the boys quite thoughtful and quite alert, while the brown-haired boy had only one idea in mind, and that was to kill the albino. Tiba. Issei, we can talk, he said seriously, going up to his room. Issei. Sure, he said calmly, following the boy. Tiba's room. We see both of them staring at each other, but the brown-haired boy was a little curious to know what his friend wanted. Issei. Well, Kiba, what's up? He said, curious. Kiba. I say, what would happen if I was lying to you since we met, he said nervously, playing with his hands. Issei. What are you talking about, he said confused. Kiba. What would you think of me if you knew that I've been lying to you from the beginning, he said nervously. Issei. I don't understand the truth, but it would hurt me a lot since I thought we were friends, he said seriously. Kiba. Boo, but it was because of fear, he said sadly. Issei. Well, before judging, I should know what you lied to me about, he said seriously. Kiba, love of this, he said nervously, starting to shine, transforming into a girl. Issei. You are a girl, he said nervously. Kira. Yes, I've always been a girl, she said, head down. Issei. Boo, but why did you never tell me, he said confused. Kira. The truth is that I was always afraid, I felt insecure, and I didn't know how you would react, she said nervously. Issei. But why now, why not before? He said nervously. Kira. Because after seeing you fight and help us all and just being close to you, I felt safe to tell you this and something else, she said nervously, looking away. Issei. What a thing, he said confused. Kira. I love you. Backyard of the residence. We see Mal sitting under a tree while sighing heavily, but the Gremory girls came to her, looking at her with curiosity. Mal. What's wrong, Miss Gremory, she said curiously. Riaz. Sorry to ask you this, but you like Issei, she said curiously. Bad. Because the question, she said doubtfully. Riaz. Curiosity, she said without further ado. Mal. What's happening? Do you see me as an obstacle to getting back with Issei after what they did to him? She said seriously. Akeno. Not at all, in fact if Issei decides to make a life with someone else we will accept it, but we are curious, you love him right? She said curiously. Mal. Of course not, for me he is just a friend, he said looking away. Irina. Yes, of course you have the same look as us, don't deny it, she said seriously. Mal. You can love him, I'm not interested, I've already proven that for me love doesn't exist, she said seriously but sadly. Riaz. Really try it, she said calmly. Bad. If there were prizes for cheating, I would have already won several. I'm not interested in having boyfriends. That's history, I already know everything. Gremories. Who do you think you're fooling? He is what you love the most, you try to hide it. What you feel is beautiful. Oh. Don't hide it. We know very well where your heart is. Dad. Oh, they're not going to hear me say it, no, no. Gremories. Your dream is, don't deny it, oh. Dad. I will never do it, I will not talk about my love. Gremories. Hyoudou it. Dad. I thought I had already learned. It's always beautiful at the beginning. My mind says be careful. Because not everything is wonderful. Gremories. We clearly see. That you love him and miss him. We won't accept it. Realize that you love him. Try to admit it. You have to accept it. You're so in love. Dad. They're not going to hear me say it, no, no. Gremories. Give up now. Your smile is of love, Rias. Dad. Don't insist anymore. I won't say it's love. Gremories. Whether you like it or not. Love has caught you. Dad. Don't ask for more. Let me say it. Gremories. He won't say it anymore. Dad. They will never make me. Say it. Gremories. His pride doesn't. Let him talk about love. Dad. Nobody will know. I won't talk about my love. Gremories. Hyoudou. Shala, la, 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 la. Mal. Or maybe I do love him. Cause and effect. We see Issei with a more than surprised look since what he had just heard from his friend, now girlfriend, was more than mind-blowing, and he didn't know what to answer, although he knew that what she had just done was an example of bravery. Kira. I know this is sudden and yes, it's most likely that you won't be able to reciprocate, it's okay, I accept it couldn't continue because Issei spoke. Issei. Kira, this really surprises me, but now I can't have a relationship, not because you're not beautiful, but because I still have problems from the past, although what happened with Rias and the others was stupid, they opened Rainer's wound, and it's still hard for me to trust in love again, but maybe later we could try, he said calmly. Kira. No matter how much time passes, I will wait for you, she said with happiness and hope. Issei. Thank you for understanding me. So the boy left the room while the blonde fell on her bed with excitement, but outside in the hallways, the brown-haired boy was expected by Anharu, who looked at him with a calm smile. Issei. What's wrong? He said, curious about the black-haired man's attitude. Anharu. What do you think with everything that is happening? And I'm not referring to the Oridan thing, I'm referring to the Rizavim grandson thing, he said curiously. Issei. I don't know what you're talking about, he said looking away. Anharu. Of course, and the fact that I had to activate a seal so that the others wouldn't notice all the power you released when you found out what I tried to do to the Gremory, he said seriously. Issei. Well, I don't know the truth, he acted very cowardly, and it bothered me, he said seriously. Anharu. You still love them, right? He said seriously. Issei. I can't hide it, right, because I still love them for everything we've been through, and those things are not easily forgotten, and knowing the truth I see that they didn't forget it either, and they still love me too, he said with his head down. Anharu. Hey, you can't beat yourself up about it. People make mistakes. We're not perfect. We have our faults. If you decide to forgive them, it's okay. It's your life. You can do whatever you want with it. No one can judge you. But if you want some advice, let them truly show you their regret so they can truly earn your forgiveness. He said calmly, beginning to walk down the stairs. Greg. Buddy, I agree with you. They are sorry for their decision. Now they just need to earn the right to be with you again, he said calmly in the brown-haired boy's head. Issei. I think they're right. Ria's housing. We see Ria's talking maliciously while brushing her hair and talking about a certain brown hair. Val. So Issei gave his arm so that he could beat the Tracer guy and free you from his commitment, she said in amazement. Ria's. That's right, Issei was perhaps perverted, a little clumsy, and one could also say that he was not a powerful enough demon, but in the face of every adversity, he always came out ahead with a big smile for him. There have never been limits, no matter the rival Issei faced him without fear, that is why he earned the respect of all factions, and his way of being outside the battlefield was that of a kind, gentle, protective and loving boy who made all of us fall in love with him, she said with nostalgia, remembering everything she has lived with Issei. Wow, Issei is an amazing person, she said fascinated. Rias. That's right, and if you had known him since he became a demon, you would never believe that he would become what he is now, she said calmly. Val. Then why did you hurt him? He said sadly while Rias stopped brushing the purple-haired girl's hair. Rias. Because I'm stupid, she said without further ado. Mal. Because I'm stupid. She said confused. Rias. Yes, we made the stupidity of following an idea that, thinking how good it was ridiculous, and what we caused was to hurt Issei and realize the foolishness we did, in addition to the fact that we lost the only boy who truly loved us no matter what, who would give his life for us, she said sadly. Mal. And they are willing to let Issei be happy with someone else, she said curiously. Rias. Yes, the truth is that it would make us very happy to go back to Issei and leave all this in the past, but if Issei decides to be with someone else, we can't do anything, he's in his right, and we don't have to get involved in his decisions, she said a little more calmly. Mal. Wow, you're amazing, he said with his eyes open. Riaz. I don't just use my brain more. 2 days later. The days have been passing, the boys have all been training equally, even Riaz trains hard to improve her mastery of the power of destruction and increase her strength. The only ones who train separately are Issei and Anharu, who fight each other, causing great destruction in their wake. In addition, Mal helps Audrey master the power of her mother's scepter, but now everyone was gathered in the living room. Issei. Look, he said seriously, watching a magic channel where Orion was seen. Reporter. The latest news is that the barrier on the island of the Lost has begun to disappear, and this can only mean one thing, and that is that the most dangerous villains in the stories will be released, said the reporter with clear concern. Audrey. The barrier will fall, she said, confused. Mal. It seems that our last visit to Orion and the fight with Hercules was the cause of all this, she said seriously. Riaz. And how bad would it be if that barrier fell? She said doubtfully. Carlos. Well, the truth is I wouldn't know how to say it, since the most powerful villain on the island is Hades, and from what we were told, Issei can fight Hades, so for the factions they are not a problem, but for Orion, it would be doom, he said seriously. Issei. Wow, that's a problem. I think we should go help them. After all, we were the ones who caused this, he said seriously. At that moment a magic circle appeared in Ria's ear, who instantly put on a worried face, alarming the others. Bakeno. Riaz, what's wrong, she said nervously. Riaz. Vali, her team and some members of the hero clan are attacking the underworld, she said nervously. Issei. It's time to crush a white lizard. Battle against the white. The brown-haired boy along with everyone else immediately went to the underworld, including Evil's friends ready to face any threat. Well, the brown-haired boy had only one thing in mind, and that was to kill Vali Lucifer. Underworld city of Lilith. The boys watched as the entire city looked like a war zone as explosions went off everywhere. Riaz. How do we do this? She said seriously. Sona. Riaz, it's good that you're here, said the black-haired girl somewhat agitated next to her queen. Riaz. That's how many enemies there are, she said nervously. Sona. We don't know exactly, but most of them are from the heroes clan, she said seriously. Issei. Where is Vali, he said seriously. Sona. He is in the center of the city, he does not move and is protected by a barrier, she said seriously. Anharu. He's waiting for you, he said seriously, looking at the brown-haired boy. Issei. If it is the safest thing, Riaz, you and your entourage can help in whatever way you can, you too, Mal, you can also help, he said seriously. Mal. Sure, he said as his eyes turned green. Issei. Perfect, Kira, give them a couple of swords, he said seriously while the blonde nodded. Riaz. Issei, be careful, she said worriedly. Issei. Don't worry, I'll do it, he said taking out his wings and leaving. Riaz. Come on, we have work to do. As they joined the battle we could see the chestnut going at high speed to the center, being able to see the albino who was standing, noticing his presence as he instantly turned his gaze in the direction of the chestnut. Vali. Hello Hyoudou, I see that you finally deigned to appear, he said seriously while the brown-haired boy landed in front of him. Issei. Hello Lucifer, he said with a hostile tone. Vali. Hey, why that tone? I thought you would be happy to see me, he said calmly. Issei. Stop the nonsense, I know what you did, so don't try to buy time by chattering, he said seriously. Vali. I see, so I don't have to pretend anymore, he said seriously while smiling maliciously. Issei. If you don't have to pretend, because no matter what happens I will kill you, he said seriously, summoning his armor and launching 3 dragon shoots. Vali smiled arrogantly as the attack hit a magic barrier that prevented the 3 attacks from passing, much to the brown-haired boy's surprise. Vali. You like it, this barrier was created with the best protection spells, you will never be able to harm me, he said mockingly as the barrier became invisible. Issei. That will not stop me, he shouted furiously, taking his muscular form and launching himself against the barrier, beginning to hit it hard repeatedly. Vali. You're stupid, you could never, he couldn't continue when he saw how the barrier began to crack while the brown-haired boy attacked without stopping. Vali. This is not possible, his voice stopped when he saw Issei break the barrier. Issei. Don't underestimate me, Vali Lucifer, he said with hatred, punching him in the face. The blow sent the albino flying, and before he could get back up, the brown-haired boy appeared on top of him and began to rain down blows that shook the boy who could not defend himself. Issei. What's wrong, Vali, why don't you defend yourself, or is it that you can't? He said seriously while he grabbed the albino and slammed him against the ground. Vali Puig ma damn it, he screamed in pain while spitting blood. Issei. Don't tell me what they told me was true, now you're a hitch who's not capable of fighting anymore, he said seriously. Alika, shut up, damn it, I can kill you if I wanted to, he said weakly, standing up. Issei. Come on, try it, he said seriously while crossing his arms. Volley, Albion, serious cry. Albion. But volley, he said nervously. Volley. Just do it, angry shout. Albion. Vanishing dragon, divine dividing balance breaker scale male, the voice resounded as the armor activated. As soon as the armor appeared, the albino launched himself with everything against a brown-haired man who had his arms crossed, and without much problem he remained still while volley hit him on the head, but this attack did nothing to him. Issei. That's all, he said seriously while looking at the albino. Volley. Don't think it's a big deal, he said, trying to connect another blow, but this one was stopped by Issei. Issei. You will never understand, you will never be better than me before, now and always you will be my hitch, he said, seriously hitting the albino's chest, breaking his armor. After seeing volley with his armor broken, the brown-haired man noticed a blue flame on his chest, while volley held that area due to the immense pain. Issei. So this is what Gustav did, he thought curiously. Before he could continue, Arthur and other boys appeared in front of the chestnut tree ready to fight. Issei. First you hurt your sister and now you're a terrorist, you disgust me, he said looking at Arthur. Arthur. This doesn't matter to you, he said seriously. Issei. If you want, I'll finish you all off, he said seriously. Iku. Do you really think you can take on all of us? He couldn't continue because he and everyone else in the entire city were paralyzed by the terrorists. Issei. This was the work of gas. He couldn't continue because a voice spoke behind him. Asper. Hello senpai, said the vampire, but this time with a more masculine voice. Issei. Gasper ho, he couldn't continue because he saw the vampire's new appearance that looked very different from the one he had before. Issei. Wow Gasper, you look very different, he said amazed. Asper. He likes my new appearance, he said with a sad smile. Issei. If it's very impressive, listen, what are you doing here? He said curiously. Asper. We heard about the attack so we decided to come, he said calmly. Issei. And where is your brother, he said curiously. Asper. He's in the Aguirre's mansion, most likely he's charring anyone who confronts him, he said calmly. Issei. I see, by the way, thanks for the help, he said, looking at the heroes still paralyzed. Asper. Leave them to me, he said calmly. Issei. Sure, he said doubtfully. Asper. Look at fire burst, he said, covering himself with a strange red aura creating a huge disaster. Issei. Wow, he said with his eyes open. Greg. That boy really changed, he said surprised. Issei. Don't even say it, let's go for volley, he said, starting to run to where the albino was, but at that moment a magic circle appeared and a being that Issei hated with all his being came out of it. Rizavam. Long time no see Sekirute, said the older albino with a mocking smile. Issei Rizavam. Phenomena. The atmosphere became very tense at the sudden appearance of that being who had caused so much harm that with his insane desires, he only caused death and destruction, while the brown-haired boy tried to remain calm, but his instinct told him to go up to him and tear his head off. Issei. So the rumors that you were still alive turned out to be true, he said seriously without stopping looking at the albino. Rizavam. What can I say? I couldn't die in such a pathetic way. I had to fulfill my dream, he said relaxed. Issei. Do you think you can do it? I killed you once and I'll do it again, he said seriously while getting into a battle pose. Rizavam. Come on Sekirute, try it, he said mockingly. Issei didn't say anything, but was about to launch himself at him, but he had a bad feeling, so he launched a not very strong dragon shoot that a few centimeters from Rizavam collided with a barrier beginning to fade, while a red aura appeared on Rizavam. Issei. So you had a barrier that absorbs the power of the opponent, interesting, I wonder what would have happened if he hit it, he said seriously. Rizavam. TSK, it seems you've improved, Brady said with some annoyance. Issei. With a vermin like you, you always have to be improving, he said seriously. Rizavam. As I say goodbye, we'll see each other later, he said seriously as he disappeared with volley. Issei. Damn, that old man has new tricks. I mustn't let my guard down when I see him again, the brown-haired boy thought somewhat seriously. Gasper. Senpai listen to me, he said in front of him. Issei. Sorry Gasper, what's wrong? He said, coming out of his thoughts. Gasper. Ah, I was telling you that if we were already returning with the others, it seems that the remaining members of the heroes clan have left, he said calmly, seeing how the city became calm, but also with a great silence. Issei. If you're right, let's go. Thus the pair of boys rose into the air heading towards the Gremory mansion, being able to see the little damage caused by the heroes, while some clans helped the wounded while in the mansion the Formas and the Redeeds clan with everyone else were gathered. Issei. Hi, sorry for the delay, he said calmly. Riaz. "Hello Issei, how are you? Who is the boy?" she said curiously like most people. "Gasper? But it's me, Gasper," he said calmly, while Issei and Gustav covered their ears out of pure instinct. "Oh, what are you, Gasper?" they screamed in shock. "Gasper? Yes, but they didn't have to shout," he said holding his ears. "Rias? But what happened to you?" she said confused. "Gasper? Well, I wanted to give myself a makeover, and I also wanted to keep my word with Issei-senpai and become a man again," he said calmly, while Issei opened his eyes in shock. "Akeno. I must admit that your change was somewhat radical but very elegant," he said calmly. "Gasper? Thanks Akeno-senpai," he said calmly. Issei. "Well, we are not here to talk about Gasper's new look and more now that the bastard Rizavam appeared during my battle against Vali," he said seriously. "Sirzich? You're serious?" he said surprised. Issei. "Yes, the bastard wanted to set a trap for me with a barrier that absorbs energy, but I managed to discover it, ruining his plan. Besides, from what I see, Vali can't fight, not with all his power," he said seriously. "And Haru? He can't fight with all his power, what do you mean?" he said confused. "Gustav? What he means is that if Vali fights with all his power, the fire inside him will consume his heart and the rest of his body," he said seriously, while everyone was surprised by this statement. Issei. "You were the one who did it, right?" he said seriously. Gustav. "That's right, it was my will-o'-the-wisp, that's what he did when I saved the Gremories from him," he said seriously. Issei. "And you can take away the fire," he said seriously while everyone was even more surprised. "Val. Issei, why do you want to do that?" she said confused. Issei. "Because I want to beat that bastard without any advantage," he said seriously. Azazel. "Issei, I'm sorry but this is ridiculous, we have an advantage to kill Vali and you want to lose this advantage," he said somewhat displeased. Gustav. "I'll do it, Hyoudou," he said seriously while everyone was in shock. Azazel. "But what are you talking about?" he said incredulously. Gustav. "You don't understand this, Crow. This is a matter between dragons and that's why I decided to support Hyoudou in his desire to kill Vali Lucifer with his own hands and without any kind of advantage," he said seriously, leaving the black-haired man speechless. Issei. "I appreciate it. Boredan Isle of the Lost. We can see how a great storm was felt not only on the island but also throughout the kingdom, worrying everyone since they did not know what this phenomenon was due to. Yuma. What the hell is going to happen now?" said Ursula's daughter while she, 2 boys and a girl, watched as thunder struck everywhere. "Harry. Don't you have a feeling that something bad is going to happen?" he said seriously. At that moment a monumental thunderclap hit the island's barrier directly, shaking everything. "Hades. The time has come," he said amused. Then. "What the heck is going on?" he said scared, watching with his parents as the thunder crashed brutally against the barrier. Crack. At that moment, everyone who witnessed the phenomenon could see how the barrier began to fall into pieces and a strange bridge was formed, connecting the island with the rest of the kingdom. Hades. We are free. Boo City. We can see a black-haired girl with blue eyes and a wand in her hands. Jane. Here they are, Carlos and the others, she said tiredly in front of the Hyoudou residence. "Boy. Do you really think he's here?" said a dog. Jane. "Yes, I feel it," she said holding her chest. "Boy. Okay, he couldn't continue because he started sniffing and looking in different directions." Jane. "What's wrong, boy?" she said confused by the hound's strange behavior. "Boy. A familiar scent reached me." The confused brunette looked in different directions and could not notice that in the distance hidden, she could see a blue-haired girl with a serious look and hatred in her heart. "Evie. I can finally kill you badly." Underworld location unknown. We can see Vali being thrown to the floor by Rizavam while he punched a wall in anger. Rizavam. "It seems that damn Securite is much stronger than before," he said angrily. Vali. "If your stupid team of incompetent scientists would hurry up to find a solution to my problem, you wouldn't have to worry about that poor guy. I could kill him without any problems," he said annoyed, standing up. Rizavam. "Shut up, you moron, you're in no position to demand anything, it would be so easy to kill you right now, you understand," he said seriously, holding him by the neck. Vali. "Don't forget, stupid old man, that if you kill me you lose the power of the Hakuryuku, and with how short-handed you are, I don't think it's good for you," he said, breaking free from the older albino's grip. Cow. "I'm sorry to interrupt your nice family chat," he said seriously. Rizavam. "What do you want, cow?" he said seriously. Cow, the barrier of the lost fell. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.